Endymion has made a critique of third worldism, and as usual, it's a complete disaster, as people literally don't know third worldist theory when they attack it. No, you don't see any revolutionary base areas. In fact, you don't see any at all in the first world because they literally don't exist. The class collaboration is not an argument we make. We consider the first world proletariat to be bought off enough to refuse violent revolution. This idea of claiming that claim that there's a class collaboration is a complete fiction that you've just invented. The idea that you need to exploit the first world as much as the third world just spits in the face of economic reality. Is that why there's so much of a living standard difference between the first world and the third world, or even the wage differentials or living standards? Even if you argue the productivity argument, which makes no sense in the context that you're using it, value generated in the third world and the amount of it kept by third world workers is astronomically smaller than it is. The same product sold, while the labor is paid $2 a day compared to what? An average $8 an hour minimum wage in the first world. Not to mention that most of the third world labor isn't actually contributing to the labor process, but rather the distribution of the goods. So your idea about productivity makes absolutely no sense in this context whatsoever. You've literally just pulled that out is to try to attack third worldism rather than actually critique it. Now, as for Maoist tactics, that almost has nothing to do with third worldism at all. In fact, it's just something you've tried to pigeonhole in as a criticism. The argument that we make is the degree of revolutionary potential, which you completely avoided in the video, and I assume that's deliberate because it's completely counter to your claim. The problem is that revolution has never happened in the advanced capitalist countries, and then when the first and third world appeared, there has still never been a revolution in the first world. All revolutionary experience shows that you are in fact completely wrong, and your criticism is wrong. Yet this is also something you refuse to acknowledge. You just assume revolution is still impossible. And as for this idea of a legal war that turns into a revolution, that's laughable. Is that what first worldists or people in the advanced capitalist countries have been doing for 100 years? No, actually they've not. They've been doing Eurocommunism for 100 years. This thing that you've invented by a legal war turning into a revolution is a complete fiction. You've just made that up. That's not something anybody has been doing. And for this idea that is pulling people farther to the left is downright idiotic. It's just pulling people into Bernie Sanders style social democracy. You can tell that by what they're calling socialism is literally not socialism, it's social democracy. Endymion, if you're going to criticize third worldism, I suggest actually learning about what you're talking about before you attempt to make a video on it.